the entropy balance, and I say that it is not a there is nothing called as the conservation of entropy because of this term. This one, this is the entropy generation, and it is generated within the system boundary. Okay, and these terms represent the entropy transfer, net entropy transfer, and this is the change in entropy within the systems. Because of the presence of this entropy generation, it is not called as the conservation of entropy. Okay, because it is present due to the irreversibility present within the system. So that's why, and it is changing. Okay, we know that for reversible process its value is the zero, and for irreversible process its value is always greater than zero. And also I told you that entropy can be transferred in the form of due to the heat transfer and the mass flow. Okay, and the entropy transfer by heat you can represent as heat is equal to q by t, where t is a constant, and here the t is the absolute temperature which is measured in a Kelvin. Okay, and it is always at the boundary or control surface. Okay, so that's why if you have n number of surfaces, and each surface having the different temperature, that's here I used the summation terms. So it means that it is a summation from all the surface, okay, of entropy transfer associated with the heat transfer. Okay, and these terms because it's a control volumes or open system, you know that in the open system there is a mass transfer, and mass also carry the entropy. Okay, so these terms if you have a many inlet and outlet, like I discussed the energy balance. Okay, same things you can apply here. If you have a multiple inlet and outlet, then you can use the summation, and if you have a single inlet and outlet, then there is no summation. You can directly write plus mi si minus me ac, and this is the entropy generation. Okay, and in case of the closed system, there is no mass transfer, so this terms become the zero. Okay, so this terms you can see that summation q k by tk plus entropy generation is equal to change in entropy within the system. Okay, next which when I used means apply the energy balance for the low temperature systems. So here, if we remember that this is the steady flow energy equations. So when we neglecting the kinetic energy and potential energy, steady flow energy equation for a cryogenic refrigerator is Q minus W is equal to summation mh at the outlet minus summation mh at the inlet. Okay, and generally we used the isothermal compression. Okay, so in that case, in case of the refrigerator cycle, we are using this one. How can we find this? Suppose there is a single process, means one inlet and outlet. So you can write a W. Okay, these terms here I have written the M into. You know that for the steady flow case, steady flow device, mass entering is equal to mass leaving. So that's why it's a M, means M1 is equal to M2 is equal to M. Okay, so that's why here it's written that M is a mass flow rate. Okay, into H2 minus H1. Okay, minus Q, and you know that this term is equal to the, if you divided both sides by the M, so M into T. It's a isothermal process, means temperature is constant. T1 is equal to T2. Okay, T1 is equal to T2, so that's why I use the T1. S1, S2 minus S1, so because there is a minus sign. Okay, for process 1 to 2, so you can write it directly divided by, so minus W by M is equal to T1 S1 minus S2 minus H1 minus H2. Okay, So here the minus signs is this one. Always you can write this one because it's represent the work done on the system. Okay. So when we are solving the problems of the cryogenic systems, we are using this formula to find the work done. Okay. On the systems. So minus W by M is equal to T1 into S1 minus S2 minus H1 minus S2. Okay. This is nothing. It is coming from the steady flow energy equations. Okay. So these things I already discussed that, and you know that delta Q is equal to what? TdS. Okay. Here S is the entropy. If you here this S is the specific entropy. This S is the specific entropy. Okay. That's why I have multiplied with the mass flow rate. A specific entropy. Okay. So remember that this minus sign here is due to the work done on the systems. Okay. So we are writing like this: minus W by M is equal to T1 into S1 minus S2 minus H1 minus S2. Okay. So don't confuse with this is also energy balance, and just simplifying and neglecting the kinetic energy and potential energy. Next is the Maxwell relations. You already studied this thing in the thermodynamic relations. Okay, so what is the Maxwell relation? Maxwell relation say that the equation that relates the partial derivative of four properties. Four properties is what? P represent pressure, a specific volume, temperature, and a specific entropy S of a simple here a small v and a small s represent the specific terms. Okay. Of a simple compressible system to each other called the Maxwell relations. Here I have not considered the other effect like gravitational effect and other effects. Okay. So the equation that relates the partial derivative of properties, four important P, B, T, and S. Okay. Of a simple compressible system to each other are called the Maxwell relation. Earlier you remember that. So here you can, from the first TdS relations, you know that TdS is equal to what? Du plus PdV. Okay. So if you write du is equal to what? Du is equal to TdS minus PdV. This is the first equation. The second one, if you remember that the second TdS relation, TdS is equal to dH minus VdP. Okay. So dH is equal to what? dH is equal to TdS plus VdP. Okay. Other two Gibbs equations is coming from the Helmholtz function and Gibbs function. What is the Helmholtz function? That is the A is equal to U minus Ts. Okay. So when you differentiate these equations, when you differentiate this one, dA is equal to du minus T ds minus s dt. Okay. And you know that du minus TdS from this one. What? Minus PdV. So you can substitute here this value is equal to minus PdV. So what you will find that? You will find that dA is equal to minus S dt minus PdV. This one. Okay. So this is the third Gibbs equations. And the fourth one is that Gibbs function that represents the G is equal to H minus Ts. Okay. So again you differentiate this one. When you differentiate this one, the dG is equal to dH minus T ds minus S dt. Okay. So when you substitute dH minus T ds from these equations, you will find that this is equal to the what? VdP. You can see that dH minus SDT equal to VdP. So you will get that dg is equal to minus h dt plus v dp. Okay. And for the, you know that for the exact there is a conditions. Okay, for the exact differentials, and suppose there is a functions, you can write dz is equal to m dx plus n dy. Okay, so for checking the exactness, you can write that partial derivative of m, this is the partial derivative of m with respect to what? With respect to y, this one. So here it's a y, and which one is the constant? This term. And what is the m here? M, you can write that del z by del x. Okay. Here, if you remember that this d is represent the total differentiation, and this del is represent the partial differentiation. Okay. And what is the n here? N is the del, means partial derivative of z with respect to the y, and here it's a constant is the x, and here is the constant is the y. Okay. So for checking the exactness, we are so here you can write that partial derivative of m with respect to y at x is equal to partial derivative of n with respect to x at a constant y. Okay. Now you can compare these equations, these four equations. Okay. So when you compare, here instead of z it is the u. Okay. And m is equal to what? M is equal to t. Okay. So you can write here partial derivative for finding this exactness. You can write partial derivative of t with respect to v, and what? S is the constant, is equal to partial derivative of minus s there, partial derivative of p with respect to what? S and a constant v. So this is the first relation. So for example, here z is equal to what? Z is equal to u. Okay. And m is equal to what? It's a t. Okay. And n is equal to minus p. Okay. And x is equal to, it's a s, and y is equal to, it's a v. Okay. Now you can substitute here. So partial derivative of m means the partial derivative of t with respect to v, and constant is the s, is equal to minus partial derivative of p with respect to the s at a constant volume, at a constant v. Okay. So in similarly you will get remaining three Maxwell relations. Okay. Just you remember these things and then you compared. Okay. And there is a way to remember this four Maxwell relations is, if you see this. So I told you that it is a relation between the T, P, S, V, and others property you can find it using these relations. Okay. So T, P, V, and S. Temperature, pressure, volume. You can say that Tapasvi. Okay. And then here you can write. You can draw the rectangles, and then you can give T, go anti-clockwise, P, S, and then V. Okay. In the anti-clockwise direction. At the bottom corner, you can see that it is a start from the T, P, S, V. Okay, Tapasvi. So first relations you need to do. So it is the one first relation on the left edge. So you can go from the top to bottom, this arrow and this one. Okay, from T to S. So here you can see that we need to go from T to S via V. Okay, this is the first Maxwell relations. Okay, So if you're going upside, then it is a positive. If you're going downside, then it is a negative. So you can see that you can write a partial derivative of t. This is the intermediate one, and what is the destination? Destination is the s, so it is a constant s. Okay, is equal to so here again you can see that we are coming from the P to V. Okay, so you can write you are going from P to V on the diagonal is on the downside. Okay, so minus sign is there. Then partial derivative of P with respect to the intermediate is the S. Okay, and the final destination is the V. So it is a constant V. Okay, so this is the first relation. Then this bottom edge is the second one. Okay, so you see that the arrow is on downside. So again, I start from the this one. So you can S to T. So it's coming from V to T. Okay, so del by del S at a constant V at a constant T. Final destination is the T, so T is the constant. And here the minus sign because the arrow is on downside. So see that there is a minus sign here. Okay, again minus. Then coming from P to V. Okay. So minus partial derivative of P with respect to T at a constant V. Similarly, you can write the others ones. So this is the left edge is the 1, then 2, and this one is the 3. So you can going from up, and this arrow red one is the red arrow on the downside. So there is a negative sign. Okay. So you go from B to P along this direction. So minus del by S del P at a constant T, and because you are going from top to down. Okay. And V to P. So del V by del T at a constant P. Because it's upside the arrow, so there is a positive sign. And the last one is the fourth Maxwell relation. Okay. So in this way, you can remember all the four Maxwell relations. So here all the arrow on the upward direction, so positive. Okay, at constant S. Okay. So in this way, you should remember all the four Maxwell relations. Okay. Next, here I'm going to derive the relations between the different properties. Okay, with the known properties. So first one is the relations internal energy changes. Okay. So first I am going to discuss about this relations. Okay. So for this, you can assume that let U is the function of TV. Okay. Now you need to find the total differential. Okay. So you can write like earlier I did, du is equal to partial derivative of U with respect to the temperature T at a constant volume V dt plus partial derivative of U with respect to the V, okay, at a constant temperature T into dV. Okay, this one you know that from the definition of the specific heat, and that, okay, so you can write that du is equal to Cv into dt plus partial derivative of u with respect to the V at a constant T into dV. Okay, now again assume that let S is the function of T and V. Okay, so you can differentiate it and you will find that ds is equal to partial derivative of S with respect to T at a constant V into dt plus partial derivative of S with respect to V at a constant T into dV. Okay, and you know that du is equal to TdS minus PdV. Okay, now you can substitute this value of ds here. Okay, and then you will rearrange these terms. What you will find that when you substitute this value here in the TdS, you will find that T partial derivative of S with respect to T at a constant V into dt plus T partial derivative of S with respect to the V at a constant T minus P into dV. Okay, now you compared these equations with this one from equation 1 and 2. Okay, so left hand side is the equal, so you can equate the coefficient. So when you equate in the coefficient, what you will find that these terms here you can see that Cv, and here it's a T into partial derivative of S with respect to T at a constant V. Okay, so what you will find that partial derivative of S with respect to T at a constant V is equal to Cv by T. Okay, so when you equating the coefficient of the first term on the right hand side. Okay, next one is that when you equating the second terms, coefficient of the second terms, this one. So what you will find that, yes,
Sir, there du equal to TdS plus PdV, right? The equation of du, it is Td plus PdV.
TdS is equal to du plus PdV. So,
okay, sir. Sorry.
Okay, so now you come equating this coefficient, this one with this one. So what you will find that partial derivative of u with respect to the v, okay, at a constant t is equal to t, then partial derivative of del s by del v at a constant t minus p. Okay, and using the third Maxwell relation, what is the third Maxwell relation? You can see that partial derivative of S with respect to V at a constant temperature T is equal to partial derivative of P with respect to the temperature T at constant volume V. Okay, so when you substitute this value here using the third Maxwell relations, I have written here third Maxwell. Okay, third Maxwell relation. So you will find that this is equal to the T partial derivative of del P, partial derivative of P with respect to the T, okay, at a constant V minus P dV. Okay, So when you substitute this value, this one here, you will get this terms. Okay. So you can substitute this value in this equations, and you will find that du is equal to cv dt. Okay, this is the cv dt, and del u by del v, I know that this equations from 1. Okay, del u by del v, I know that is the t into partial derivative of p with respect to t at a constant v minus p. Okay, so you can substitute here plus t, this is the del p by del t at a constant v minus p dv. Okay, these relations which I discuss here, this is valid for all the gases, means ideal or real gases. Okay, and I told you that for the ideal gas, u is the function of t only. Can anyone tell me that how to prove this one? For the ideal gas, u is the function of t only using these relations. What you will do? You know that for the ideal gas, PV is equal to
first MRT.
Yes. So now you differentiate and you will find this value, means del P by del T, and here R is the constant and V is constant. So it is the V is equal to R by V. Is it correct? And then this is equal to the P by T. Okay. Now you can substitute here this P by T. So T cancel, and then what is the P minus P? So it is the value. So this terms becomes the 0. Okay. Now this terms becomes the 0. You know that du is equal to Cv dt. So if you remember these relations we are using for the ideal gas, and you can see that it is a function of temperature only. Okay. So that's why this relation is valid for both ideal plus real gas. Okay, for and real gas. But this one is only valid for the ideal gas. Okay. Similarly, you will find the enthalpy change. Okay. If you need to if you need to find the enthalpy during the process, you just integrate these equations. Suppose I want to find the E2 minus E1. So what I will do? I will just integrate this one from process 1 to 2 and this one from process 1 to 2. Okay. So you will get the change in internal energy. Now I am going to discuss the enthalpy change. Okay.
Sir, is there integrated formula for you?
For?
Is there integrated formula, final integrated formula?
If you know the CV is the function of temperatures, you know that. And if you know the relation between the P, V, T, then you can substitute and then you can integrate. Here I don't know that relations. It is varying from. So if you know the relation, then you can substitute and then you can integrate. Okay. It depends on the problem definitions. If you know the relations between, like ideal gas, I did. Okay. Ideal gas, what I did, du is equal to Cv dt. Okay. Now, if you want to find the E2 minus E1, if you remember that in the last lecture I discussed Cv the function of temperature T into dt. If you taken Cv as the average value, then you can write the Cv average into T2 minus T1. Okay. But here it's a partial derivative, so I need to relations between the pressure, temperature and volume. Then you are able to find this partial derivative and then thereafter you will integrate it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So next one is that enthalpy change. Okay. So enthalpy change here, again we are assuming that let H is the function of T and P. Okay. Then again you differentiate dH is equal to partial derivative of delta H by with respect to temperature T at a constant pressure P into dt plus partial derivative of H with respect to P at a constant T into dP. Okay. Again, you assume and you know that this value is the Cp. This is the definition of the specific heat at a constant pressure. So you can write that as Cp dt plus partial derivative of H with respect to the P at a constant T into dP. Okay. Now, again assume that let S is the function of T and P. So ds is equal to partial derivative of S with respect to the T at a constant pressure P into dt plus partial derivative of S with respect to the P at a constant T into dP. Okay. Now you know that dH is equal to TdS plus VdP. Okay. So again you substitute this value of ds here. Okay. And then rearranging these terms. So what you will get that? You will get that T partial derivative of S with respect to T at a constant pressure P dt plus T partial derivative of S with respect to the P at a constant T plus V dP. Okay. Then you can use the fourth Maxwell relations. Now you compare this two from this one, these relations. Okay. So left hand side is the equal. So right hand side is, so you can equating the coefficient. So here I have equating, you know that Cp is equal to what? This terms. So this is equal to the C. You will find that Cp is equal to T partial derivative of S with respect to T at a constant pressure P, and again equating the second coefficient of the second terms on the right hand side of both the equations. So what you will get? You will get that a del partial derivative of H with respect to the P at a constant T is equal to what? V plus T partial derivative of S with respect to P at a T. Okay. Now you will use the fourth Maxwell relations. And what is the fourth Maxwell relations? Fourth Maxwell relations say that partial derivative of S with respect to the P at a constant temperature T is equal to minus partial derivative of V with respect to the T at a constant P. Okay. So you are using this one, using the fourth Maxwell relation. Fourth Maxwell relation. Okay, so what you will find that? You will find that V minus T del V partial derivative of V with respect to the T at a constant pressure P. Okay, now you can substitute this value, this one here in the equation first. Okay, so what you will get that? You will get dH is equal to Cp dt. dH is equal to Cp dt plus V minus T partial derivative of V with respect to the T at a constant pressure P into dP. Okay. So this is the relationship. Okay. Again, if you are using the ideal gas, these terms become the zero, like earlier I did for the internal energy. Okay. So same concept you can apply here, and you will find that dH is equal to Cp dt. So you say that enthalpy for the ideal gas. This is for the ideal gas, okay? But these relations which I discussed derived here, this is valid for both real and ideal gas, okay? And dH is equal to Cp dt is valid only for the ideal gas. Again, you need to find the change in enthalpy. You can integrate, okay, and find the value. Next one is that entropy change, okay? So entropy change, this one. So for entropy change, you can write let S is the function of T and V. Okay. Now again you differentiate, so you will find that ds is equal to partial derivative of S with respect to the temperature T at a constant V into dt plus partial derivative of S with respect to the V at a constant temperature T into dV. Okay. So, and earlier I told you that this term is become the Cv by T. And this one is coming from the third Maxwell relations. You are using the third Maxwell. Okay. Third Maxwell relations. So what you will get that? You will get ds is equal to Cv by T, okay, into dt plus this is the partial derivative of P with respect to the temperature T at a constant V into dV. So that is the I have written here. Okay, these terms. Okay. Next one is that this one. So this one you will find again you can assume that let S is the function of T and P. Okay. And then you can differentiate this one. So what you will get? You will get that ds is equal to partial derivative of S with respect to the T at a constant pressure P into dt plus partial derivative of S with respect to the P at a constant T into dP. Okay. So these terms, if you remember, that is equal to the Cp by T, and you are using the fourth Maxwell relation. What the fourth Maxwell relation say that partial derivative of S with respect to P at a constant temperature T is equal to minus partial derivative of V with respect to temperature T at a constant pressure P. Okay. So fourth Maxwell relation. Fourth Maxwell relation. So you can substitute here. So you will find that Cp by T into dt minus this is the partial derivative of V with respect to the temperature T at a constant pressure P into dP. Okay. So this is the second one. Second relation. Okay. Next, if we need to find the relation between the Cv and Cp. Okay. So when you compared these two equations, left hand side is equal. Okay. So equal. So when you equate these two, what you will find that? You will find that I am equating these two. Okay. So it is you can write that Cv by T dt, okay, plus partial derivative of P with respect to the T at a constant V into dV is equal to Cp by T into dt plus minus minus this is the partial derivative of v with respect to the t at a constant pressure p into dp. Okay, now you can take these terms on this side, so you will find that I just rearranging and I directly written that dt is equal to t partial derivative of p with respect to the t at a constant v divided by cp minus cv, okay, into dv, okay, plus t into partial derivative of v at a t constant t into p divided by cp minus cv into dp. So what I did, I have taken these terms on the right hand side and this terms is coming on the left hand side, okay, and then divided both sides by the cp minus cv by t, okay. So I will get these terms. Now assume that let t is the function of v and p, okay. So you can differentiate this one, so you will find that dt is equal to partial derivative of t with respect to the v at a constant pressure p into dv plus partial derivative of t with respect to the p at a constant v into dp, okay. So now you can equate the coefficient. Here you can see that these terms, okay. So when you equating these two, what you will find that cp minus cv is equal to t into partial derivative of v with respect to the temperature t at a constant pressure p into partial derivative of p with respect to temperature t at a constant v, okay. Then there is a relations called as the cyclic relation. If you remember that cyclic relations, so it says that I will write it here. It says that partial derivative of p with respect to the t at a constant v, and then partial derivative of t with respect to the v at a constant pressure p into partial derivative of v with respect to the t at a constant pressure p is equal to -1, okay. So here you can see that partial derivative of v with respect to p and partial derivative of p with respect to temperature t at a constant v is equal to what? That is the, you can write here, you can substitute this value, okay, from here, and then you rearranging this one, so you will find that minus t, okay, partial derivative of v divided by the t whole square at a p into del p by del v at a constant t. These terms which I written here, that is the minus this one is the partial derivative of v with respect to the t at a constant p into del p by v at a constant t, okay. So there is a one more terms, partial derivative of v with respect to the temperature t at constant pressure, that's why the square is coming, okay. So these two are multiplied. So now I need
Sir.
to write, yes sir.
Sir, here you have written t, let t is a function of v and p. And earlier also, sir, you have assumed s is a function of t and p and so on. So is there a rule for assuming, or we can assume anything?
Here you can see that I need relations. Earlier I need the relation between the t and v, okay. In case of the, for example, entropy, I need a relation between the t and v, so that's why I use the s is the function of t and v, okay. When I need to say here in this case, second case, I have assumed that s is the function of T and P. So in which means what is the relation? You can find any property in any other unknown or known functions. Okay. So here I need to replace S means I need to find the change in entropy in terms of the temperature and volume. So that's why I have considered this functions T and V. In case of the internal energy, here what I have assumed that I assume that U is the function of T and V because I need a change in entropy is a function of temperature and volume. Okay. Similarly, you can see that in case of the enthalpy, that depends on the formula. I mean, in under which suppose you can also find the H is a function of T and V. There is no problem. Okay. So which equations you required? Based on that, you can assume. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Here I need to this terms beta and alpha. What the beta and alpha? Beta represent the volume expansivity, okay, and alpha represent the isothermal compressibility. And you know that beta. What is the beta? Beta is defined as the this one. Beta is the volume expansivity. Remember that the volume expansivity is an indication. What is the indication? Of the change in the volume, okay, that occurs when the temperature change. And what is the constant here? Constant is the pressure. For example, if you have suppose you have considered the piston cylinder assembly, earlier it is at a temperature 20 degrees Celsius, pressure 100 kilopascal, and mass is the inside this is the 1 kg. Okay. Now you just increasing the temperature by 1 degree Celsius means temperature is increasing from the 20 to 21 degree Celsius. Okay, but the pressure and mass you can see that is a constant. So because the substance having the large beta, you can see that it is expand more. Okay, but if the value of a small beta, you can see that it is expansion is a small. Okay. So this is the physical significance of the, you are changing the same temperature, means 1 degree Celsius, but the means volume expansivity, which is the material properties, okay, if its value is small, then it is expand, expansion is very small, okay. When the value is very large, means the value of the beta is large, then the expansion is the larger, okay. So beta is the material property. Okay. So the volume expansivity is an indication of the change in volume that occurs when the temperature change. Here you can see that we are changing the temperatures from 1 degree Celsius, for example, 1 degree Celsius. Okay. So while pressure remains constant. So here pressure is a constant. Okay. So mathematically, you can represent the beta as mathematically beta is represented by 1 by V partial derivative of V with respect to the temperature T at a constant pressure P. If you remember, that's why I have removed these terms with which is with respect to the pressure, okay, and converted all the in terms of the volume. You can see that here. This is the definitions. I rearrange these terms. You can find this. This is the volume expansivity. Okay, at a constant pressure. Next one is that I told you that compressibility, isothermal compressibility, and mathematically it's represented by the V is equal to minus 1 by V. Okay, then partial derivative of V with respect to the P at a constant temperature T. So what is the difference between these two? Here, in case of the volume expansivity, when temperature changes while the pressure is constant, volume changes. Okay. In case of the compressibility, what is the difference? Here, the volume changes when the pressure changes and the temperature is constant. So What the indication? Isothermal compressibility is indication of the change in volume. Okay, when that takes place when the pressure changes and while the temperature remains constant. Okay, and the volume expansivity and isothermal compressibility are a thermodynamic properties. Okay, so here if here I consider the temperature because isothermal compressibility because temperature is constant. If there is another is the isentropic compressibility. So the definition is the same. Only difference is that there is a entropy is constant, not temperatures. Okay. So this one is called as the isentropic compressibility because here entropy is constant, and this one is called as the isothermal compressibility because temperature is constant. Okay, so now using these definitions of beta and alpha, I have rearranged these terms. Okay, so now you can substitute this value here, and you will find that Cp minus Cv is equal to minus 1 by T. Okay, sorry, minus T. Here is a minus T. Minus T. Okay, then I have multiplied and divided both sides by V squared. Okay, because here there is a square, so I need to multiply and divided both sides by the V. Okay, so V, and I just written in this terms 1 by V del partial derivative of V with respect to temperature T at a constant pressure P whole square. Okay, into V into this is the partial derivative of P with respect to the V at a constant temperature T. Okay, so these terms, if you remember, that is the beta. So it is a beta square. Okay, and this terms is the minus 1 by alpha. Okay, so minus 1 by alpha. So when you multiply it, you will find that T V T beta square by alpha. Okay, and this relation is called as the Mayer relations. So you always know that Cp is greater than Cv. Okay, so here you can see that V represent the volume. Okay, specific volume. T is the temperature, which is the absolute temperature. So it is the positive terms. Okay, beta may be change. Okay, but because here it's a square, so it is also positive, and alpha is also positive. Okay, so the volume expansivity could be negative for some substances, but its square is always positive or zero. Okay, and isothermal compressibility is a positive quantity for all the substance in all phases. So this terms is also a positive one. This one is a positive. This one is a positive. So that's why it is a positive. So you can write that Cp minus Cv is greater than equal to 0. So this is the Cp greater than equal to Cv. You know that in case of the incompressible substance like a solid and a liquid, you can assume that when V is constant, so Cp is equal to Cv. Okay. So this is the relation. This relation is called as the Mayer relations. Okay. Next is the Joule-Thomson coefficient. So Joule-Thomson coefficient, you know that the temperature behavior of a fluid during a throttling process. Throttling, I told you that in the throttling process, H is equal to constants. Okay, means isenthalpic process is described by the Joule-Thomson coefficient, and the definition is written here. Mu J T is equal to partial derivative of T with respect to P at a constant H. Okay. So mu Jt, that is the Joule-Thomson coefficient, represents the slope of H equal to constant lines, means isenthalpic lines on the TP diagram. So here you can see that there are a lot of isenthalpic lines, H equal to constant lines. Okay. So when mu Jt is positive, means less than 0 temperatures, you can see that slope, it is a slope. So when slope is 0, you can see that temperature is increases. Okay. And there is a one point where the slope is 0, means mu Jt is equal to 0, so temperature remains constant, and when greater than 0, then temperature it decreases. Okay. So for this, I have done the means there is a experiment. Okay. So in this experiment, there is a porous plug. Okay. And this inlet means temperature and pressure is constant. We are assuming that it is a fixed. Okay. Then we are doing the experiment. So here you can see that this video. So molecules is entered. Okay. And then it's passed through the porous plug. Okay. And here I assume that is an isenthalpic process. So you are getting the at the outlet T2 and P2. Okay. Temperature. So here you can see that for the given inlet T1 and P1, you are getting the value of the T2 and P2. Again, you change the porous plug size. Okay. And then you do the experiment, you will get the another value of T2 and P2. So similarly, when you combine this value of the, you will getting the isenthalpic line. Okay. This is the isenthalpic line. Again, you are changing the inlet conditions, means you are changing the T1 and P1, you are getting the another isenthalpic line. Okay. So when you connect where the slope is the 0, the point where the slope is the 0, you are getting the inversion line. So you can see that all the point where on the isenthalpic line or H equal to constant line. So you can see that here the slope is 0, here the slope is 0, here the slope is 0. So when you connecting this point by the line, that line is called the inversion line. So what is the inversion line? The line that pass through these points is called the inversion line. Okay. So in a constant enthalpy line on the TP diagram, pass through a point of 0 slope or 0 Joule-Thomson coefficient. Okay. So the line that passes through this point is called the inversion line. Okay. And the temperature at a point where constant enthalpy line intersect the inversion line, you can see that. So this temperature is called as the inversion temperature. Okay. So here I have written that the line that passes through the point of 0 slope is called as the inversion line. Okay. And the maximum inversion temperature, or the maximum inversion temperature when the pressure is constant 0. So the temperature at the intersection of the P is equal to 0 line. Okay. So P is equal to 0 line, you can see that this is the ordinate. And the upper part of the inversion line is called as the maximum inversion temperatures. This is the maximum inversion temperatures. Okay. So it is not like this means always you are getting the temperatures decreases. Okay. So it is if you need a cooling, so it must be the Joule-Thomson coefficient must be a positive, and you can see that this is the region, means left side of the inversion curve, inversion line. Okay, where the temperature is going to decrease. Okay, so if you want to decrease the temperatures, your Joule-Thomson coefficient must be a positive one. Okay, so the slope of the H equal to constant line are negative on the where on the right hand side of the inversion line. You can see that where the temperature has been increased. Okay, here when you, this is the inlet. So when you going on the left hand side, you can see the temperature has been increased. Okay,